Hello to the world and to the kingdom citizens. I greet you in the precious holy name of Yeshua Messiah, Yeshua HaMashiach, who said in his word, John 8:32, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Hi, I'm Dr. John Curry, Ambassador, Pan-African, and welcome to the Kingdom of Heaven on Earth. If you want to follow this podcast, please subscribe to JC Global Embassy TV1. Ring the bell and hit the thumbs up button. Today's message is entitled, White People, why are you trying to liquidate America? White people, why are you trying to liquidate America? The Word of God tells us in John 8:32, it says, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. My question is to white people and to some black people, why is it that you do not want to know the truth? The word says, and you shall know the truth, and the truth that you know shall make you free. We also know that truth crushed to the earth shall rise again, which simply means no lie shall live forever. The word that is being thrown around is talking about the liquidation of America. And what does liquidation mean? The word liquidation has many forms, but the formal meaning of the word liquidation means to exterminate or to enslave a people in order to bring in a new future. Let me say it again. The word liquidating, to liquidate a people, means to exterminate or enslave a people in order to bring in a new future for those that have done the liquidation. Now let's go in on this a little bit. The process of the liquidation of a nation. In other words, this is the process of how you liquidate a nation. The first thing you must do is to erase its memory. For all of those that are citizens of that nation, the memory must be erased. Well, how do you do that? You erase its memory by destroying its books. You get rid of all of the books so they have nothing for which to pull from. The third thing you do is to destroy its culture. Get rid of everything that represents the people of that culture. So number one, to erase its history by distorting or blocking out its memory. Number two, destroy its books by burning them up or by tearing them up, shredding them up, or throwing them away. And number three, destroy its culture, which is wrapped up in the books. Number four, after you've done that, it would be to destroy its history. In other words, they will not know where they came from. So I believe we're stuck in this conundrum in America. And we know as black people, the liquidation of black folks started back in antiquity when the Europeans came over. I guess we can also say during modern times, during 1884. There was a meeting at the Berlin Conference, the Belgian Berlin Conference of the Congo in 1884. And all of these white European nations came together. And they came together with a strategy that they wanted to go over and carve up Africa. In other words, in order to make Africa just basically colonialized. And in the process of doing that, they did a bunch of wicked things. And at that time, they was operating as socialism. They was operating from a socialistic point of view. But today, they like to call themselves Democrats and Republicans. And some even still ascribe to colonialism as well as communism, practicing jingoism, which simply means might is right. So if we look at the process of a liquidation of a nation, then we can truly see that those that met at the Berlin Conference of the Congo in 1884, the Belgian Berlin Conference of the Congo in 1884, came together with a design strategy of liquidating the continent of Africa. It didn't work, but we still have some blacks and Africans that are black Africans over on the continent right now are still struggling with the mindset of colonialism, as we still have some blacks in America still struggling with post-traumatic slave syndrome and the mindset of slavery. One was ending while another one was beginning. Now, why is that important? It becomes a paradox that those that went over to liquidate a nation, now in America, they're trying to liquidate herself. That's why I open up with the topic, white people, why are you trying to liquidate America? It will never happen. And the reason why it won't happen is because the truth is already out. The scripture says, John 8:32, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Not set you free, but make you free. If someone sets you free, they can lock you up again. But if you're made free, even though you're locked up, you're still free. So I want to deal with this for a moment. We talk about ancient history. And if we go all the way back to the ancient history, we'll bump into a book written by Dr. Chancellor Williams. It's called The Destruction of Black Civilization. That book was written. You can get that on Amazon, or you can get that in many bookstores. You can order it. Also, there's some more books that was written by Rudolph Windsor. And this one is From Babylon to Timbuktu. And I'll be doing a series on that coming up soon as far as understanding the University of Timbuktu. These are all ancient histories. When whites try to pretend like they're the only group on the planet that has civilized the world, no, everything came through black. Then he written another book called The Valley of the Dry Bones by Rudolph Windsor, the condition that faced black people in America. It's a great read. And we get to Marjorie of Spielgold, called The Dreaded Comparison Between Human and Animals. See, white people don't want you to know how wicked they were and how wicked some still are. So they like to sell us this American dream of the best country in the world, the best nation in the world, while we're still hating on each other. Another book that was written, In Search of Blacks in the Bible. This is one of my favorite, by Dr. William Dwight McKissick Sr. It's a great, great read, okay? Even if you didn't want to read those, if you went to your library and you got one of these books, encyclopedia, this talks about ancient Greece and Rome. One thing that the Grecian, and I have to give them credit for it, that's 3 and 4, I have to give the Grecians credit for it, is that the Grecian did not lie. The Grecian said, and always bragged on, that they got all of their history from the ancient Kemetic people, which is now called Egyptian. So they realized that they didn't know that much. So if you want the breakdown, I give you the breakdown. I've been giving the breakdown for a while now. If you want to understand how the whole world got civilized, the whole world got civilized by black folks. Okay, here's the rollout. The ancient Kemetic / Egyptian people civilized the Greeks. When the Greeks got civilized, they went and also helped civilize the Romans. When the Romans got civilized, what they ended up doing was civilizing France, Spain, and all of Western Europe. That's the process. That's how the world became a civilized world. In essence, while many of the Europeans were in caves and having all kinds of civil wars with each other, the ancient Africans was already in existence for 3,000 to 4,000, 5,000 years, long before the ancient, shall we say, the Romans came on the scene. And when they came over to Africa, they were stunned that they saw all of these great monuments, all of these great pyramids, the Sphinx, and they saw all of this stuff was already there before the Romans ever came to be They were still in caves, still having all kind of wars. Fact about it, Europe wasn't even developed while the African continent had already developed as a continent and was still developing long before Europe came over. The Europeans came over. So what did they do? They came over trying to steal African culture. That's exactly what they did. Everything that they took from the continent of Africa and claimed it as their own. They went in and stole books. They stole artifacts. They stole all kind of educational things. They stole hieroglyphics. They just stole culture. They stole culture. And here's what they did after they stole culture. They stole it and then put their names on it. Whites didn't understand about hieroglyphics. They had no knowledge about cursive. Cursive is a language that's written without periods of punctuation. They had no knowledge about that. The Greeks strived to learn everything they can from the ancient Kemetic people / Egyptians because they knew what they was learning was great stuff. So now white people have come to the point, and when I say white people, I mean some white people, have come to the point of understanding that we can't let all this truth get out, because if we let all this truth get out and people start reading books, their kids start understanding that white people are not as great as they've been saying they are. You would think if you was a great nation, you would think if you was a great people, you want everybody to read everything, because everything that you've done is supposed to be the truth. You wouldn't be trying to hide it. You'd be broadcasting it. But no, white people are trying to hide the truth. Trying to hide all of the barbaric things that they did to, in particular, black folks and other folks, and just trying to hide it. Now, myself, I do the Black African Diaspora Speak Black Love Lecture Series. I have all the information in this book. All the information from Genesis all the way up to this present day about what happened to us as a people. And we need to stop trying to pretend that we don't know what's going on. And some of us don't. But all of us need to be able to go back and dig for our own history. And also, I will call her a friend of mine, Her Excellency Ambassador Ariana. And she wrote a book entitled Africa 101, The Wake Up Call. You get a chance, you can pick that up too. All you got to do is just go on Google, African 101, The Wake Up Call. So why would I take time out right now to share this with you? I want to share it with you because whites are pretending that they want democracy, but as a whole, they're still fighting for autocracy. Because whites do not want to be equal with anybody but anyone else but other than white folks. So in essence, what they do, they like to promote democracy while practicing autocracy. So therefore, they went over, and everybody knows 1619. They picked up some slaves, brought us here. Some went to the 13 colonies of the United States. And while selling those 13 colonies, they were slaves for more than 244, maybe 245 years. That's actual slavery, another 100 years of Jim Crow. It brings us to this day of a total about 404, maybe 5 years of being in America, and it was never paid reparation for the labor, the free labor that we've done. Now they don't want their children to understand what they did to us as a people. But there are books out there that tells you what they did. Here's a real nice book you can get. It's by Susanna Everett's The History of Slavery. See, they can't stop it. The History of Slavery. They don't want white kids to read it. But I believe that white children are right now on Google researching all kind of history. Okay? Then they don't want them to read Pardoning the Waters, America in King years of 1954 to 1963. It's all in the book. So when you talk about liquidating a nation, one of the first things they want to do is to liquidate a nation by tearing up the books, burning up the books. Here's another book that I look at. This one here is entitled Without Sanctuary. It gives you all kind of pictures of what good old white Christians did to black folks. In other words, many of them just left church, but they like to hang black folks in trees. So this book here is about how white people did all kind of mass lynching. I just want you to get a close up. I want you to look at some of this stuff, because what they try to make you think, that America became great because white people were so great and they did so many great things. And as a result, America became great because white people were pure. They was angels. They didn't do nothing wrong. They were just kind of out there. And, you know, black folks needed to be put in slavery and all of this stuff. Now, look at these, what they were called. I mean, they took pictures and put them on postcards. Look at this here, how these white folks thinking that what they're doing is okay. Now, some of them just left church, by the way, just left church. But they don't want their children to know this stuff, because now, as you know, they're seeing how so horrific it is. But the children will know it. It's going to come out. And by the time you get to all these other books, you got the new Jim Crow. Read these books. Then you got medical apartheid, you know, doing all kind of things against black folks and causing black folks to be ill and sick for decades, and wondering why that sometimes we function in different ways than other groups. White people, you have been vicious, not just to blacks, but you've been vicious to the world. Your children need to know that. Your children need to know that and correct it by starting with you. See, when you repent of it as a group, not as individuals, as a group, your children can build strength from that. They can know that the wickedness of the past should not dominate what's going to happen in the future. You're in a multi-racial world, not America, but a multi-racial world. You are outnumbered everywhere you go, and you know that. Everywhere you go, you're outnumbered. And sooner or later, sooner or later, God's going to get involved. Right now, he's protecting those that you are abusing with guns and bombs. See, The Mountaintop by Martin Luther King. They don't want you to read that. Okay? But here's a book they do want you to read. They want you to read the Constitution. The Constitution of what they never practice. Why can't we just burn this up too? They never practice it, only when they want to gain for themselves. Did you not know the first 12 amendments in the Constitution are for white people? Then you have 13, 14, 15 amendment are also made for black people. See? So it's all been about who's going to control this nation. And your Supreme Court justices all rank in there. What the Supreme Court justices is kind of like a backstop to keep the nation functioning right. That's why it's very important to make sure you have all white males on the Supreme Court, because they're the last front line for America being a racist nation. And you would say, well, why would you say that? Well, it's a fact. You've heard me say before, don't believe nothing I tell you. Do your own research. Get your Constitution. Read it. Understand what's in the Constitution. Don't be crying about what you don't know. Read the books. Because now they're trying to burn up all of our history as black folks. They're trying to render us as non-existent. But check this out, people. It will never happen. And the reason why it will never happen, because God, Yahweh, Yeshua Messiah, Yeshua HaMashiach, he's the one that's in control. So back to the liquidation of a nation. So after they erase memory, destroy books, destroy culture, destroy history, then here's the next step they do. They have someone to rewrite or whitewash new books. In other words, write new books about their memory, whitewash it, make sure that white people are the one that's in control, make sure we're the one that comes out as a good guy. Then they manufacture and whitewash a new culture. So now you're thinking that everything goes through white. Then after they do that, then they invent and whitewash a new history. Now they're telling you, well, you're an American. You're an American. See, and when you say I'm a black African American, no, we're all Americans. Well, we're all Americans as long as we obey the tenets of what white Americans want us to obey. Understand this here. America was supposed to be a melting pot, right? But guess what? She didn't melt. She didn't melt. We got Asian culture. We got Chinese culture. We got African culture. We got European culture. We got all kind of cultures in America. America didn't melt. That's why America has always been the greatest experiment. But now that all of the wicked and vile stuff that these Europeans have done to everybody across the world, now America want to burn books. She want to burn books or whitewash books. She want to whitewash the culture, invent and whitewash new history. Well, we're all Americans. We're in America. But you don't want to talk about how America became America. The violence, the raping, the destroying, the beating, the slaughtering, the viciousness that took place. You do not want your children to understand how America became America. And in that by itself speaks volumes to who this nation really is. So before long, after you do all those things, remember, number one, erase memory. Number two, destroy books. Number three, destroys culture. Number four is history. Then have someone to whitewash new books, manufacturing new culture, manufacturing whitewash new history. And before long, that nation will forget what it was and what it is. That's America. That's where we're at right now. America do not want the world to know, especially white children to know, her true history. America, in my point of view, is practicing what she told the world that she would never practice, and that is socialism. Everything that I just read to you is socialism. It's socialistic practices. So whites want to have you and I, as black folks, to think that they are democratic. They want to portray a democracy while displaying the characteristics of an autocracy. And as a result of that, they can't have it both ways. So when they can't have it both ways, they push the panic button, and now they're wondering how we're going to get through this here. So they end up doing and telling a bunch of lies to the world as well as to the church. You want everybody on the globe to practice democracy while you're practicing autocracy. And you think they don't see what you're practicing. You think China don't see what you're practicing? You think Russia don't see what America is practicing? See, the experiment only works when you got total buy-in. But when you got half of white folks maybe want to have a democracy and the other half of white folks want an autocracy, then what you have is confusion. The world is confused about what America truly wants. The world is confused about what America truly is. The world sees America as a hypocrite because we tell everybody else democracy, democracy, democracy. But you're still treating black folks and brown folks in America as slaves. You still won't let them vote. How are you going to have a democracy and you won't let them vote? You see, we're playing three-card Monte. You know, we're doing the overlay for the underplay. The overlay is to tell the world we're a democracy. The underplay is running an autocracy. And that's why I always say two voices, one face, white supremacy. Democrats and Republicans, they're all the same. They've always been the same. And they're playing black folks to have some of us thinking that they're really different. No, they're all the same. Did you hear Joe Biden? You hear what Joe Biden said? Joe Biden said that Mitch is my best friend. He's my bestest friend. Mitch McConnell. He's my best friend. Mitch know how I feel about him. Mitch know that we need to work some things out. This is what your president, President Joe Biden said. I think the day before, the day after, Mitch said this. Mitch McConnell said, well, you know, in America, African Americans vote differently than the Americans. There it is right there. He said African Americans vote differently than the Americans. So which America are we in? That's what I mean. America pushes forth democracy while practicing autocracy in order to maintain power and control. That's why Donald Trump is doing what he's doing. Donald Trump is basically calling out this hypocrisy. That's really what he's doing. He said, which nation are we going to be? And that's why people now scrambling around trying to destroy history because, well, we don't want the world to know who we are. The world already know who America is. All over the world, they already know us. They know we say one thing and do another. They know we're striving to work this experiment out, but we got half of these white folks in this nation do not want it to work out because they've gotten used to the spirit of autocracy. We cannot let these Negroes nor these other brown people get too much power because we will be wiped out. You'll be wiped out genetically because you don't have no melanin in your skin, in your body. You got low amounts of melanin. And the more black and brown intervene with white people, just a matter of time. Probably in the next 20 years, white people will be struggling trying to see how many people on the earth. Like God can't control that. That's what I don't understand. Why you can't just submit to God and let God deal with people. But no, you're trying to be God. And that's why Jesus is white to you. And that's why you want Jesus white all over the world. You even got God white, all the angels white, because you don't trust God enough to believe that God can keep you while you're going through. So this is where we're at. I believe it was Dr. David Jeremiah that said, socialism wants you to forget. That's what he said. Socialism wants you to forget. But then he went and said Christianity wants you to remember. What a paradox. Socialism wants you to forget, but Christianity wants you to remember. So if Christianity wants you to remember, then while we're burning books and taking books off shelves and causing all this mayhem and havoc to keep young white kids from learning their history. Oh, by the way, white people, black people already know their history, and a lot of them are learning it even more now. You see, we've always gotten our history underground. We never got our history from libraries and all that. Many of that was just books that was telling lies. We went to our black historians and got our history. We went to those people that really understand the cause of what was going on. There's tons and tons and tons of black history that's underground that whites have never read because they've been prone to read these lies. These lies that are told to our children in school, high school, history books. And most of that history is American history. And that American history is nothing but a bunch of lies because it never tells the truth. And they're terrified of it now that the truth is coming out. So as Dr. Jeremiah said, he said, socialism wants you to forget, Christianity wants you to remember. And here's what I want some white folks to remember, as well as black folks, and particularly black folks. But for white folks to deny black people history, they would have to burn up all of the Bibles in the world. Because the Bible is the black man's history book. Oh, you didn't know that, didn't you? Let me say it again. For white people to deny black people history, they would have to burn up all the Bibles in the world because the Bible is the black man history book. So for black people, all you got to do is read your Bible and you get all of your history. Now, by the time you get to modern times, you may have to dig in and deal with this racist garbage. But your history is in the Bible from Genesis all the way to Revelation. So in order for them to deny you your history, they have to burn up every Bible in the world. The black African history can never be erased without erasing all the history of the world. Black African history can never be erased without erasing all the history in the world. So whenever you come to stop Black African history, you're coming to stop the history of the world. Here is our history book, Black people. And for white folks, you can, if you want to read about Black history, read your Holy Bible, from Genesis all the way to Revelation. And within that table of nations, you know, Noah had 3 sons, right? The name was Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham had 4 sons. They was named Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. Of that, we get 7 in nation. Of those 3 sons, 7 in nation. Japheth, the Caucasoid, had 14 nations. That's the white man. Shem, the Mongoloid, had 26 nations. That's our Asiatic brothers. And Ham, the Negroid, had 30 nations. That's black folks. We have never, ever, ever been a minority in the world. But to let the Europeans tell it, we've been a minority not only in the world, but all over the world. That is totally not true. So for black people, so for my Mongoloid brothers, Asiatic brothers, and for my Caucasoid brothers, white man, and the Caucasian group, European, and for my Negroid brothers, black folks, we have never been a minority. And just so black folks understand, they can never erase our history, because our history is the Holy Bible. This is what our history is. God has placed us in his word all the way through the Bible, from Genesis to Revelation. And our Caucasoid brother, the white man, hates that. And as a result, he continues to do the work that he does. So I trust you can believe it. I trust you can receive it. And just know this. God is the one that's always in control. God doesn't need permission for certain groups to accept us. God doesn't need permission for other groups to think good about us. God already knows what he put into us as black people. He already knows our greatness. We're the one that established world civilization. We're the one that invented reading, writing, math, science. We're the one that done it. And they hate us because they can't be us. But I want you to be encouraged. So white people, why are you trying to liquidate America when you say that you are a Christian nation? You say you're not a socialist. You said socialism wants you to forget, but Christianity wants you to remember. God bless. Until next time.